Greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello and welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I'm Tristan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Zach.
So before we get started, did either of you guys watch anything recently that you want to mention?
I saw Knives Out last night. I finally watched it.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. It was pretty
Yeah.
good. But I mean, I was expecting, like, because I heard that there was crazy twists and shit, but I kind of predicted a lot of it going in. Honestly, I was like not that surprised. So it was still good. I love Daniel Craig was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His southern drawl was his acting, which I loved it.
Yeah, no, he was great. I actually would have I thought it would have been actually more interesting to kind of like have it be more about him. I feel like I felt like he should have been like a bigger part of the plot than he was,
right.
you know.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I hope they make I hope he keeps making more with him, like a Sherlock Holmes, but with him instead of Sherlock and shit.
That'd be awesome.
I want more mystery movies after seeing that.
Yeah.
Me too. The cast was great.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
that was really good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I didn't think it was gonna be that great because I was still bitter about The Last Jedi. But
yeah.
I was surprised. It was really good.
Yeah, that's what kept me away from it for a while.
Yeah. I think he needed to kind of redeem himself a little bit, you know, because people knew he was a good filmmaker. Like he was the guy that did Brick and Looper and I think Brothers Bloom, and so like people knew that he could like make a good movie, which was why I think The Last Jedi like really startled a lot of people, because it was like, you know, not really anything like what he typically does, which is generally more like intelligent in the way it's presented.
Yeah, I love Brick too, actually.
Yeah.
Brick was great.
Yeah, Brick is great. I love like films like that where the character is really like determined and
So. I mean, that was because again, they didn't really throw off that Chris Evans, like spoilers, that Chris Evans was the killer.
Yeah.
It kind of was fairly obvious in the beginning, so I thought, oh, he's not gonna be the killer, but it ended up being him.
Yeah.
And like, as they were, doing that antidote switch thing, I thought, you know what? Like, as it was happening, like the very first time when she fucked up, I was like, you know what? I bet somebody actually switched it beforehand, and she didn't do it. She didn't fuck up the first time.
Yeah.
So I wasn't surprised at all by almost any of it.
Yeah, I don't think I was. Once I actually figured out what was going on, which you don't really quite figure out what's going on until like maybe an hour in, but once you actually like figure out what's going on with like the switching and all that stuff, it pretty much it all makes sense from there. It's all pretty straightforward, you know. There's like, you know, a few red herrings here and there, but nothing that like ends up overcomplicating the plot or anything. Like it's still obvious like who like the biggest antagonist is gonna be, you know. So, you know, and the main reason why is because he's the only character that like the film really pays a whole lot of attention to other than her and like a couple other characters. So it's like but it was still good though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Did you watch anything?
I watched Tetsuo, Iron Man.
That movie's crazy.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
I had never seen it before. I know you talked about it with us in high school.
Yeah.
And I finally saw it.
Yeah, it's pretty warped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely not a good one to watch if you're like really sensitive to like serious like sound design and like loud noises and stuff, because there's a lot of scratching and shrieking and screeching and like scraping of nails against pipes and iron and all that stuff, and it just and like it echoes to like the sound design in the movie is so garish. It's,
Yeah, and then that with like the quick cuts and everything.
yeah, it's a dizzying movie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have the Shinya Tsukamoto.
Oh yeah, like the Metal Solid Dreams or whatever.
Yeah, I finally started that box set.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of his movies. I've seen Vital, which that one really perplexed me too, actually. And then there was another movie of his I saw that I don't remember what it was. But yeah, Tetsuo the Iron Man is that movie's a trip.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, speaking of like box set, I watched the first one of that Lone Wolf and Cub.
Oh
movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Very
Sword of
first one so far.
Vengeance.
Yep.
Yeah,
Watched
excellent.
that one. It was
Cool.
great.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so
Oh my
good.
gosh. Yeah, I love those movies. Oh my gosh. And they're actually like they follow the samurai like history or like their whole like discipline and everything. Like it actually follows it like pretty well. Like it doesn't like take too many liberties with it or anything. It actually like abides by it pretty closely and like follows the same like dialect and everything. So I always appreciate that kind of thing when a film like can be like historically like true to an extent but still be entertaining. Like I always enjoy that sort of thing. So
Yeah, and it was like based off a manga, and it totally felt like just a live action anime.
yeah.
Like just the way they were, they were talking and shit.
Yeah, and for something that's made in the 70s too, that's pretty sophisticated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't watch anything too interesting. I rewatched I'm Thinking of Ending Things, the Charlie Kaufman movie, so just because I felt like I needed to, and now that I've rewatched it, now like I have a more full kind of idea of like what it's supposed to be about, because like the thing about it is like it's not like it's that hard to follow or anything like that. It's just there's a lot going on in it, so like
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
yeah, like like while you're watching it, it like you can get like the gist of like the plot and everything. It's not like it's incoherent or anything like that. It's actually pretty like slow paced, actually. Like it all takes place like within like one day basically, or like like maybe like a few hours or something like that. But there's just a lot to kind of like figure out like while you're watching. There's a lot going on like while you're following it, and it's just it is the kind of movie you have to like watch more than once, definitely. So watching it a second time like did kind of make me like understand it better. So yeah, that's about all I had to say about that, because I don't want to say anything more because I know you guys haven't seen it. But, yeah,
It'll probably be next month I watch it. It's spooky month.
yeah,
Yeah, spooky month.
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's Halloween, October. That's what I'm planning on doing too, is watching as many horror movies as I can. I just have to kind of like actually sit down and be disciplined enough to, because I've just been working so much, but yeah, I'm gonna definitely do that. So, but yeah, it's worth watching. So yeah. Anyway, so onto the show or the podcast or whatever.
Whatever they call them these days.
Yeah, the episode. So starting with the one that I picked the movie Streets of Rage.
A rock and roll fable.
Yes, a rock and roll fable.
Streets of Fire.
Or Streets of Fire. Sorry, I called it Streets of Rage. I knew I was going to do it. Streets of Fire. Which it definitely like it lives up to the title at least. There's because there is a lot of fire in the streets. So
a crazy amount.
Yeah, there's also a lot of rage in the streets too. Yeah. But the reason I chose this one is because my dad had it, and because my dad has a lot of these bad like cheesy sort of older movies as well, and I've just been kind of rummaging through his tapes and just finding weird looking cheesy stuff, and this was something I found, and I asked him about it, and I was like, "Oh, did you see this?" You know, "Oh, I saw that one in the theaters," he said. And I'm like, "Oh, was it any good?" He's like, "Well, the trailers made it look good."
They did.
Tape,
Yeah.
tapes? Did you watch it on VHS or?
Yeah, and
Old school.
yeah, and I'm not sure exactly why he why he even had the VHS thing, because he said it was disappointing. So it's like, if it was disappointing to go see the theater, then why would you have the tape? Yeah, but whatever. Anyway, I got it because, you know, I read the plot. It sounded like something that would be kind of fun, you know, and it was by the director of The Warriors, you know, Walter Hill.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah,
a lot of
it actually
aesthetic
does make
sense.
sense when, like,
Yeah.
once you know that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and excuse me, I've actually seen a few of his movies, and I've liked a lot of his movies, you know, but
I heard most of his movies suck.
yeah, well, I mean, apparently most of them do, but the ones that I've seen for the most part have actually been pretty good. Of course, I haven't seen his worst ones. Like, I haven't seen Supernova or any of those, you know, but I have seen like Crossroads, and I have seen Southern Comfort, and I liked both of those. I thought that this was going to be good in the same way that those were. Um, in my opinion, it wasn't, you know, but I mean, that's what you get sometimes, you know. So
Yeah.
I guess to try and describe the plot, it's unusual because it is a rock and roll fable, but it's kind of loosely rock and roll, because the only rock and roll that even happens in the movie is, like, you know, in the concerts that Diane Lane, I think it is.
Yeah.
One of those. Yeah. She plays this singer who like, actually the music. Okay, I will say the music in this movie was pretty cool. Like, so she's a singer, and she does these concerts that are kind of, you know, that happen sort of throughout the movie, and the movie opens with a concert, you know. And I actually, like, I thought that the movie was going to be like, there was going to be a lot more music in it than there actually was.
Yeah, I
you
did
know?
too. After the first scene was just one straight music video, like a
Yeah.
5-minute music video.
Yeah.
Concert.
Like,
I was like, oh no, is this going to be lots of this? Because I hate musicals,
well,
What
like,
was
and I'm not a fan of. I'm really honestly not a fan of '80s music either.
yeah, that's fine. What was that you said?
I was gonna say I was gonna thought it was gonna be another Cool as Ice. Some music videos throughout the plot.
Yeah. Which I'd have to say, and this is saying something, because, you know, Cool as Ice, I would say, like, was definitely like a, you know, objectively speaking, it was a poor movie. I wouldn't say that this movie was necessarily, objectively speaking, bad. It's just there wasn't really much to it. So, like, there's a mercenary who gets hired because Diane Lane's character ends up getting kidnapped by a biker gang called the Bouncers, or I don't even remember what they're called. I
Yeah, I
watched this movie
forget.
just a couple days ago. What, Bouncers? Bombers. That's it,
Bombers,
the
yeah.
Bombers. The Bombers. They kidnap her, and so he gets he's like a hired mercenary person who gets hired by her boyfriend, who is played by Rick Moranis from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, he's in it.
Yeah.
Like one of the few movies he's actually in.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him in this at all.
Yeah, I saw him in the cast. I didn't think he was gonna play like a big character, like a big, like, main character, and he actually is, like, in, like, most of he's pretty much, like, in this movie throughout. Like,
Yeah.
so I was pleasantly surprised by that, because it's always enjoyable to see, like, an actor like that in movies that you've seen a million times do something different, you know.
Yeah,
Way
didn't,
different.
yeah, did not expect him to be an asshole like that.
Yeah, neither did I, because most of the time he plays likable character, or at least characters that are, like, you know, likable in spite of being, you know, who, like, the dad in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is a total idiot. You know, you'd have to be like the worst dad in the world to accidentally shrink your kids with a ray gun, you know, but he manages to do that, and somehow he ends up still being a likable character. So, you know, kudos to him as an actor for being able to pull that off. But having said that, his character in this movie is not likable.
Nope.
To put it, to describe it the way he would describe it, he is the shits. Not the shit, but the shits, which he makes sure to say a few times, and he kind of
Yeah.
uses that to describe a lot of things that he doesn't like. Oh, it's the shits, which doesn't really sound all that cool. It actually sounds kind of lame,
Yeah.
but whatever. I guess he's not supposed to be likable. But the thing is, like, none of the characters in this movie are really very likable.
No.
Like, you don't even get a chance to like figure out who they are,
Right.
really. Like,
And what I thought weird about their relationship is he's also her like manager,
yeah,
and he's dating her,
which is that doesn't work. Like,
that shouldn't work.
yeah, the relationship between her and the main character would have made more sense. But what were you about to say?
I was gonna say they're pretty much all assholes in this movie.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Everybody's basically just talking trash to each other. Nobody likes each other, and they pretty much like they couldn't even care less about what they were doing. It's almost like kind of like how this like the suicide, like imagine Suicide Squad in the 80s, almost like a movie like that. That's kind of what this feels like. A bunch of characters who they kind of know what they're doing, and they don't really care about what they're doing, but they do it anyway, and they're basically the heroes, even though they're not really likable.
Yeah. I mean, the main character's sister was pretty likable.
Oh, yeah.
So she didn't do anything assholeish, really.
Yeah, I liked her. She was cool. I liked a lot of the side characters that didn't really do anything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Bill Paxton.
Oh yeah, he was funny.
Which one was he?
He was the guy who, at the very end of the movie. Oh, spoiler! At the end of the movie, he's the one that gets the gang together to fight back against the bombers.
He was a bartender.
Yeah.
Oh, he was the Bart. That was Bill Paxton.
Yeah, with the rotten teeth.
Yeah, I did not know that was Bill Paxton. Huh. It did not look like him at all.
Yeah, that was Bill Paxton. So
he was lanky and skinny.
He was
not what I see.
He was pretty gross looking, like,
yeah.
And it's just kind of funny, like, and what was
he had a cool hairdo though.
He did,
was like one of those 80s.
Yeah, and what was with Bill Paxton like playing characters in the 80s who had gross looking teeth? By the way, this is like the third movie he did that. I'm like, what's going on with that? But anyway, he's in it, and then who else is in it? This movie has quite a cast, actually.
Who was the main character? I don't even know.
Palais, who I didn't even recognize him at first, but he was in like whatever that. It's like I can't even something and the something, like it's not Benny and the Jets, but like like it was like some cheesy like 80s musical thing. Or rock. I guess he's into music. I don't know, but let's see.
I liked his aesthetic. Like when he came on screen, I was like, "Oh, this guy looks cool. He looks like a badass."
He was,
and he was a badass. But he was like, "Oh yeah."
But that's all he
what
was.
A handsome dude. He's a hunk.
Well, that's the thing. Like, okay, so the movie, it felt like I was flipping through like the pages of a biker magazine or something like that, because like the film, like, so it had it was trying to go for like a rock and roll aesthetic, but it was also trying to go for like an 80s aesthetic as well, and the two like styles didn't quite mesh, although they sure tried to make them mesh, and there's like, it's mostly just a lot of like gang battles and these people kind of like, duking it out, and Willem Dafoe plays like the head honcho, although mostly all he does is show up and says a bunch of mean shit, and that's it. He's not really all that threatening as a villain.
Yeah.
He just grins a lot, but that's kind of what he does anyway as an actor. So
I liked him walking through the fire, like,
yeah, like
he was just like fucking Scar and fucking the Lion King. He just was walking through the fire after he rescued his ex.
There's a lot of cool looking shots in this movie, and for about like 45 minutes of it, I was on board. But then after he rescues the girl, like, there's not really even much else.
Which is his ex.
Yeah, it was his ex. Yeah. After he rescues her, like, there's not really much, like, all that much else that happens, honestly. Like, when you actually, like, sit back and look at it. Like, after that, like, she gets mad at him because so she gets mad at him, even though he saved her life. She gets mad at him because he was paid to save her life, which... I mean, like, that's a stretch. If you like, I mean, it's like they're trying to have some kind of conflict.
because they were already broken up. And like,
Yeah.
why? I mean, and it seemed like it didn't end well in general. So like, why would she expect anything else?
Yeah, like why would she get mad at him after he saved her life? Like it just doesn't make any sense. And like there's this other character in it who actually I didn't mind the um that lady who kind of paired up with it. I mean,
Oh, I liked her.
Yeah.
McCoy.
Yeah,
She's my favorite. She was a bad. I liked her a lot.
she was cool. I liked her. I kind of would have liked the film to like be a little bit more about her, you know.
Yeah.
Um
Like she beat. Well, now I know she like beat the shit out of fucking Bill Paxton to get that liquor.
yeah,
That was
which is
hilarious.
hilarious to think about. Yeah, no, she was cool, you know, and there were some good moments with her, you know. I think and then also there's a neat little beat down that happens in the street, which, you know, at the end of the movie, you know, it's kind of the ends up being the climax, I guess you could say, between um Pally and Defoe. And it's kind of cheesy the way it's edited. It's kind of edited like a music video. It's not really that impressive, but you know, I guess the film had to end some
They
way.
fight with
You know?
sledgehammers or pickaxes.
Yeah.
Of some sort.
Which I like the idea of it,
Right.
but then like the way it looks, like just
Was dumb.
it just looks
Didn't
silly.
work.
Yeah. It just seemed kind of like needless and witless. I felt like the movie kind of took itself a little too seriously. You know, I would have preferred it to maybe be a little bit more humorous, maybe a little bit more like, I guess, not ironic, but just more self-aware, just a little bit more, you know, because like it wasn't. I mean, I could dig like the gang fights and the biker gangs and the explosions and all that stuff, but like
so many explosions.
yeah,
Which I
lots
have
of
questions
explosions.
about.
Oh yeah, no, I do too. There's so many countless needless explosions, you know, which didn't happen all that much in 50s rock and roll movies, you know, but you know, I mean, at most there would maybe be one or two car crashes, and back in those days maybe a car would go flying off a cliff or something. That's about it. But in this movie it's just, you know, cars blowing up. And I don't know, I guess that's par for the course in the
Motorcycles
80s.
mostly.
Oh yeah, mostly
Like, that's why I was
motorcycles.
like,
Yeah.
like he was getting the weapons from one of his, I don't know, pals or something, and I was just
Yeah.
wondering because maybe I missed it. Was his bullets like exploding rounds or something? Because
Yeah.
he would shoot the motorcycles and they would just fucking blow up.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think that's how shooting that would work.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed kind of like it's silly. It's just silly. There's so many things are blowing up everywhere, and it's very witless. You know, it's
Yeah.
very very witless, and yeah, I don't know. And for some reason, like it just kind of made it less fun. You know, it would have been more fun if it hadn't been like edited like a music video and like, you know, all that stuff. But having said that, I did like the soundtrack, not just the songs, but the actual score. I liked the way the movie looked. And I mean, the performances weren't really like bad or anything. It's just they weren't like anything special. There wasn't really any dimension to it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's maybe it's silly of me to be critical of a movie like this, but like when you get a movie like with a title like Streets of Fire, like there's just certain things you expect. I don't know what it is. And I mean, yeah, the film definitely delivers on the streets of fire, so to speak, because there are a lot of fires in the streets. But I don't know, there's not much else.
Yeah, I liked the like dingy new. I like movies with the dingy '80s New York aesthetic
Yeah.
and backdrops.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting because it used to be a shithole until it got Disneyfied, I guess. But
Yeah, no, I mean, the visuals were incredible. I definitely liked a lot of those parts too. Like particularly like the daylight scenes where everything just kind of looked like muggy and cloudy, you know. It just yeah. I always kind of enjoy ugly looking movies, you know.
right.
Yeah.
I liked the music. I did like was when they stole the bus
Mm.
from those quartet.
Yeah.
Those I like them. I like them singing.
That was
That was
cool.
nice. And
Yeah.
this acoustic little band.
Yeah. I think they kind of they were the ones that pulled off the showstopper at the end. They sang the you know, probably the most recognizable song in the whole movie, but also like it was a genuinely impressive performance. Like just in general, the concert scenes were, you know, pretty slick. You know, I have no complaints about those parts. So.
And like, there's also one part that confused me is at one point the main character and his ex make up for some reason.
Yeah.
When just there's cuz there wasn't really. It seemed like there was a lot of bad history, but then, I don't know. They had like one conversation,
Yeah.
2 sentences, and then they started making out and doing it.
Yeah. In the rain
In
too.
the rain, yep.
It felt like a teenage fantasy
Yeah.
almost. Like it felt like a movie that like a teenager growing up in the 80s would like write or something like that, or the 70s, something like that. It just had that kind of vibe, just a sort of juvenile like feel. Just
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. I mean, I think the people who like would like this kind of movie have probably already seen it. I mean, so
Yeah.
I don't know. What were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
The trailers made it seem a lot more campy,
yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, okay." Got into the movie. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I didn't watch any trailers, so I went in blind.
yeah. I did watch the trailers, and yeah, the trailers actually did make it look really cool. Like it had all the highlights, all the weird like moments and stuff. But yeah, the movie itself was a little bit more like leisurely. It wasn't really all that campy. Yeah, it just had a few campy moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Overall, like I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't like blown away by it either. So
Yeah.
that's about all I have to say. Really. So
Yeah.
I'd probably give it like a, I don't know, on an enjoyment level, like probably 2. I don't think I'd watch it again.
Yeah. I'd give it a 2 as well. 1 for the main character because he just looked cool.
Yeah.
He just looked like a cool main character.
Yeah.
And then 1 for McCoy. I liked her a lot. She was just sassy.
Yeah, she definitely was one of the highlights, I think.
I will also give it a 2.
Yeah.
Nice. 2s all around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Streets of Fire, average. All right, so next movie was your choice.
Yeah. So my choice was Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death.
I love the title.
Yeah, no, the title is awesome.
Yeah. So let's go with the plot.
Yeah, so how would you kind of like, I guess, summarize this as being like, I don't know, like what? So first of all, why did you choose it? Just out of curiosity.
My wife randomly chose it. She was
Nice.
joking. She was jokingly like, "You should cover this one." Just pointed to one random movie on my shelf. I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
It's the way to do it.
That's perfect.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Well,
and
yeah.
it was a good one.
Yeah, actually, for the type of movie it was, it actually had a pretty good cast. Like,
Yeah.
Shannon Tweed, Nate Jen Barbeau, and
It surprised me. I thought it was going to be super. I mean, it was campy, but I thought it was going to be like more cheesy or something than it was.
yeah,
Like,
Oh,
some,
yeah.
like a fucking like what Dave, like a Sedaris movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like that,
The
but it
Sedaris,
wasn't
yeah.
really.
yeah. Actually, that's like to quote. Not that I would agree with this statement, but to quote a good friend of mine who used to say really snarky things about movies, he would have described this as he would have said, I watched this because I thought it was going to be a horror movie. I didn't think it was going to be a history lesson. Because he always criticizes movies where like characters talk about like politics and stuff. He hates that stuff. So that's probably how he would have described this movie.
Oh yeah. So we have Shannon Tweed as a feminist college professor.
Yeah, the kind of the hero, I guess.
Yeah, she gets approached by the Department of Agriculture and the Commission of Avocado Affairs.
Yeah.
Because apparently avocados are vital in the national security.
That was wild. How serious they took avocados.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, avocados are definitely like they're definitely an important food, I would say. Only like because I mean, you could pretty much live off of them, and they're one of the only foods I think one could and still like get like the right amount of like because avocados have like pretty much everything you need in them, and they they're pretty plentiful, like in the locations where they are, which is why I think they're considered like really vital to a lot of people's diets. But the thing is, avocados didn't really become popular until like fairly recent, like in the last 10 to 15 years, and
Yeah.
now people are starting to eat it on like toasts and like all this other stuff. People are trying to make ice cream out of it.
Yeah.
Avocados have kind of become a hit now, but
This
Yeah.
movie was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
like in the early 90s it just wasn't the case. It just wasn't like people were just like avocados,
Yeah. Remake this movie.
Right.
This movie actually could get a good remake probably, like.
Yeah. I'd watch
But
it.
anyway, yeah, I would too. Man.
So these avocados are in a jungle.
In California.
Yeah,
I was surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like Southern California, which is desert. So I don't know
Right.
why there's a jungle there, but
Yeah. It's I guess it's just something you have to accept. Got to suspend your disbelief, despite the fact that like the California climate like may not necessarily be, preferable for avocado growth. I guess we'll have to pretend that it is for the sake of this movie.
yeah. So this jungle is run by piranha women who are cannibals, obviously by the title.
Yeah.
So they go to San Bernardino to a bar to find a local mercenary.
Oh, that was a nice little scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget the three
Oh,
weird
one of
characters first.
One of them was a Bushido, and he looked familiar,
Yeah.
and I looked him up. Steve Reed, I think his name is, and I looked him up, and the only other movie he's been in was Surf Nazis Must Die. So
That's
there you go.
awesome.
We've watched Steve Reed's entire filmography.
Nice.
He was also in like
ninja
some
guy. You mean?
that
Because you can only see his eyes. You could tell from that.
well, like because like the way because in the what was it called, in Surf Nazis, like he had the same like he did the same exact thing,
Okay.
like and he had he had the same everything, like he was exactly the same.
Okay.
So, but
He just like went from.
and he
one set
sounded
to
the same
other.
too. Yeah, like it was like if you actually, yeah, I swear, like it was like this exact same guy. And then like when I was looking at the cast, I clicked on it just out of curiosity, the Bushido fella, and yeah, like the same guy. But anyway, and then who were the other two guys?
There was a Vietnam vet.
Right.
Yeah.
A wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they all turn it down. And then there comes Bill Maher.
Very young Bill Maher. He didn't really look like Bill Maher, in my opinion. I was like, oh, he's aged poorly.
Yeah. But man, he had a lot of quips. I mean,
Oh, yeah. A misogynistic klutz, I guess you'd call him in this.
Oh, yeah.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
Tripping all over the place. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, he was mostly pretty dumb, but
Yeah, I loved how goofy his character was.
yeah. Yeah. No, me too.
So they head out to the jungle, which they start in an avocado field. Like you could tell it was a farm already.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they also had that student of hers.
Yeah. She also kind of ends up being like, I mean, why did she even go with her in the first place? I was a little confused by that. Like, So, yeah, like I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I'm just a fan of the professor. Is all I could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seemed kind of like kind of dangerous to like take like a young student like with you into like a cannibal infested jungle. It just-
Bunny
I
was her
don't know.
name.
Yeah, Bunny.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just didn't really make much sense to me, but whatever.
You know what I thought was just awkward or poor writing? I don't know. Is they all knew her name without her being introduced?
Yeah.
Like a
Well-
couple people, like some of the, I don't know, the CIA. I don't exactly remember who, but they all said, "What are you, Bunny?" They named her without her being introduced.
Yeah. I guess somebody must have told them ahead of time.
Off
or
screen.
something. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. So they get together with Bill Maher. Yeah.
Yeah. And then pretty much a good chunk of the movie is just them going through the jungle.
Yeah. And
And
at
then-
some point, like
Yeah, they first come across the group of guys
Yeah.
that throw like knitting wool at them.
Right,
Yeah. Like as an offering. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
and they're afraid of women or whatever.
Yeah. And so they knit. I
I
guess that's what happens when you're afraid of women is you just start knitting. And they serve hot chocolate instead of beer.
Yeah, which Bill Maher was having none of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. And so he gives them all like beer.
Yeah,
I
he
like
teaches.
That was funny too.
Yeah, teaches them to be men with
Yeah.
Yeah.
beer,
tries to-
penthouse, and teaches them how to catcall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then it ends up kind of going badly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the piranha women find them there, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's kind of when the plot starts, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, not to like say the movie didn't have, but that's when like things actually start happening, basically.
Yeah. They take him to this like building which did not fit anything
Not at
else.
all. I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this? It's
Yeah.
supposed to be a temple, but it looked like a fucking like science facility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's that all about? You know? And there's all these slave men, you know, some of them, you know, were pretty handsome looking, but yeah, like that they kind of were in their compound as well. And like, there was like that whole thing about like the area where the piranhas are or whatever. Like,
Oh yeah, that pool or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. And then they're led by Adrian Barbeau.
Yeah. Which was an interesting touch, actually.
Yeah. Who was pretty much the same thing as Shannon Tweed's character.
Yeah, except like the bad guy.
Yeah.
She led the piranha women.
Yeah, it's like 'cause she was like wayward because she's like one of those like so it's basically like it's almost like a satire
Yeah.
where it's trying to kind of show like the difference between like a feminist who believes in equal rights versus a feminist who believes that like women are superior, basically. And so it's almost about how these two characters like believe in the same thing, but like one has kind of been corrupted along the way and kind of ends up being almost like a Colonel Kurt, like, and actually her name is Dr. Kurt. So it's basically like a spoof of like Apocalypse Now is what this movie is. You know? Kind of like at its essence, not like a spoof as in like not like an airplane type of spoof, but more like a takeoff on like the Apocalypse Now formula, only using like a feminist metaphor, which was an interesting idea actually. Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely very satirical,
yeah,
the whole movie, and I thought like it felt like a Bill Maher production. Like, so I like looked it up afterwards. I was like, did he write this?
yeah.
But no, it wasn't. I was like, seems like something Bill Maher would have written.
Yeah, it did kind of feel that way because it did have the same sort of like, what do you call it, like the heavy-handed sort of like political jabs and
Yeah.
and like the sort of social commentary on top of that and stuff, which is something he enjoys sort of doing. That's kind of his overall sort of style, you know. So this is almost like an early prototype of kind of what he the kind of stuff that he would kind of later on, at least his character anyway, sort of like an early prototype of the kind of like humor that he would sort of utilize in his career like later on. So it was kind of interesting to sort of see that as well. But anyway, but back to the compound temple thing.
Yeah. So they try to get Shannon Tweed to join them. She refuses. They put Bill Maher in a pit where dudes are just working out.
Yeah.
And then they try to get Bunny to kill him.
Yeah.
And then she falls in love with him instead.
Yeah. Which is like, I mean, whatever, I guess.
Yeah, it was like Shannon Tweed was like, because Bunny joins the Piranha Women, and she's like, their ideas aren't what we're supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that's not why I want to join them. I like their outfits.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
And then Shannon Tweed escapes and finds another group of women, the Barracuda women.
Yeah.
And they hate each other because of the dip for their avocado shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why they're like rivals.
Yeah, they like clam dip instead of avocado dip
Yeah.
for eating the dudes.
So they pretty much, Shannon Tweed comes back, battles Adrienne Barbeau,
Yeah.
accidentally kills her,
Well,
right?
she kind of kills herself.
She walked right into
Like-
it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because like it was weird too though, because like she kills herself, but then later on Shannon Tweed says she died fighting for like what like she's something she believed, something superior beyond anything. And I'm like, actually she killed herself. Like she didn't die fighting, she actually like took her own life. Like I was really confused by that, and it made me kind of wonder like if I missed something.
I was kind of looking forward to that fight because they first started out with axes,
Yeah.
and then they like kind of dropped them and pick up like rapiers,
Yeah.
like in the medieval rapiers.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, maybe they're just gonna keep going to sillier and sillier weapons.
Yeah. It's like, okay, let's see where this
I was
goes.
hoping for that, but no, they just stopped at that.
Yeah, they're like, okay, enough is enough.
No,
They-
it wasn't enough. No.
Yeah, because this
Yeah.
movie's supposed to be about like how, like, why women who are feminists and believe in feminism shouldn't fight each other. Basically, is what this movie's about.
Yeah.
And Bill Maher's stuck in the middle. But what were you about to say?
I was gonna say it was pretty goofy up until they reached their stronghold there, and then like the goofiness just stopped, kind of.
Yeah, that was weird because like up to that point it was kind of like it was definitely like a comedy, and up to that point it was sort of like you know, like I get what they're going for, but let's see where this leads. And then they finally encounter the cannibal women, and then it kind of actually ends up sort of taking a little bit more of like a serious sort of turn. And I mean it's still a comedy, but it's just like it was almost not really like the same kind of comedy.
Yeah. Just Bill Maher was the only comedy relief after that.
Yeah.
Like I liked how they started putting him in a stew, and he like picked up a carrot and was like, "What's up, Doc?"
Yeah, that was straight out of fucking cartoon.
Yeah. He was pretty goofy in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it.
Yeah. I mean,
Bill Maher and Bunny get married at the end randomly.
yeah.
Yep.
Which, you know, probably wasn't necessary, but why not?
Why
You
not?
know?
Why
Yeah.
not?
Gotta have a happy ending. So yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting little political type horror. Well, not horror really at all, but like
Yeah, so I was
Comedy,
expecting.
satire.
yeah.
I was expecting a little more like cannibalism, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of
There's
would.
a little. They're just looking. They look like eating a piece of jerky. That's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. At the beginning of the movie, like the opening scene of the movie kind of makes you think it's gonna be a horror movie. Like at the beginning, it almost has like it could almost like be like a potentially like trauma like sort of thing where like a couple guys are like looking at some women and it's like, oh, and it starts off all like,
Oh yeah.
you know, shaking
Yeah.
shaking themselves off and you know, uh-oh.
Yep.
But then
There was nudity for a PG-13.
yeah, which
That's the 80s
you know
for you.
doesn't happen very often, you know.
Yeah.
Although just one of the guys had the whole like flashing, you know. But anyway, but yeah, so it starts off like it's going to be like a kind of trauma-esque type of horror movie with these two guys leering at these women. It's like, oh, softcore hijinks and shenanigans, but then they get taken out and it's like, oh, cool, that, you know, now this movie's speaking my language. But then it kind of becomes a political satire, you know, although the pretty enjoyable one for the most part, you know, like definitely goofy and silly, not always funny, you know, pretty cheap, but enjoyable still. Like you could tell the people who made it like respected the intelligence of the viewers enough to like assume that like the people watching it would be able to follow what was going on, and you know it's not like it was that complicated anyway, you know. So I guess, you know, what else are you going to do with like the Apocalypse Now type of formula? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, that beginning scene, I thought it was gonna be like a Cannibal Holocaust parody or something.
yeah.
I was really hoping for that.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for too. I thought that would have been interesting, you know, but oh well. I still didn't mind what it ended up being, though. You know. So,
I did like Bunny. She was funny.
yeah,
I like that. Like basically every scene, she had a different outfit.
Yeah.
Some different skimpy outfit on.
yeah. The costumes were good. Actually, yeah. No, I could see why she wanted to get in on those costumes too, because they were pretty fancy. You know, for
Yeah.
the cannibal women, like, you know, well fit. You know, the colors were nice. I don't know.
Yeah, she pet a leopard.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, there was a kitty over there.
Yeah.
Oh."
Yeah, no, she was charming. Yeah, no, actually the cast was pretty good. So
And they shoot a hippo off screen. There's like I don't know what they call it. There's like a dwarf hippo, but it's
Yeah.
just as dangerous. And they just shoot bullets into off screen, and yep, we got it. There we go.
Yeah.
yeah.
Meanwhile, Bill Maher is spitting off lines from the Jungle Cruise at Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that's Cannibal Women.
Yeah. Cannibal women in the avocado jungle of death.
Yeah,
yeah.
and I gave it a 3.
I don't know if I'd give it a 2 or a 3. I'd probably give it a 3 because I actually did enjoy it like quite a bit. You know, so, it wasn't like amazing though. I mean, yeah,
I gave it a 2.5.
yeah. All right,
Just 'cause
that's fair.
fair. It was
Yeah.
all right. It had its moments.
Yeah. Another one I don't know that I'd watch again.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend it, but
Yeah, probably
Watch
not gonna like. Oh, what was that?
I'd watch the first half.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but Bill Maher being so goofy was hilarious.
yeah, yeah. No, actually, he was pretty entertaining, and I'm not even a Bill Maher fan, to be honest. I don't really like him, you know, but I liked him in this. I thought he was pretty entertaining, and
Yeah.
you know, he fit the character pretty well. Like he had his own sort of style and his own thing going on. I mean, yeah. No, I like that. You know, I liked what he did. I liked what he contributed. So, yeah. No, good movie.
Hey, yeah.
Oops. Anyway. All right, and that brings us to our final
Our
film.
final film.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All right, here we go.
I don't even know.
Yeah, where to begin?
Jesus, this movie was a spectacle, I guess.
Yeah.
That would be one word to describe it.
You could call it that, yeah.
Geostorm is the movie we're speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess just the overall genre plot-ish was a pre-apocalyptic movie.
Pretty much,
Like,
yeah.
the-
Eco disaster.
Yeah,
sorta.
there's a little narration at the beginning of it saying the world's getting fucked up by
Yeah.
nature or global warming or whatever,
Yeah.
and they built a weather machine out in space.
Yeah. Basically Skynet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
A
pretty. That's
literal
pretty much.
Skynet.
It was like because it was like 4 satellites and then like a big. I mean, that was a net, right?
A
Yeah.
net around the
Yeah.
entire world
Yeah,
of
so Skynet.
satellites. Yeah. and one of the major things that bothered me was just the timeline of this whole movie was confusing.
Mm,
So it came out in 2017. I don't
Right.
know how long, because a good portion of the movie was just straight CG.
yeah.
So I was wondering, like, did they start this way earlier and expect to get it done way earlier? Because the first scene basically takes place in 2019, where the whole, and the reason why I think it's like an alternate universe is their technology is way above what's even capable in 50 years, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So like, it's like Gerald Butler's the main guy that made the Dutch Boy, which is the machine they called. They control the weather, basically.
Yeah.
They control the weather.
And man, do they say Dutch boy a lot?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like in 2019, he's like summoned to the court because he started the Dutch Boy up
Yeah.
before he was allowed to, but he saved thousands of lives.
Yeah.
But he wasn't ordered to. They weren't supposed to start it up yet, but he gets in trouble, and then
Yeah. And he gets in trouble for solving global warming, basically.
yeah, and this is in 2019. His brother fires him himself.
Yeah, Jim Sturgis.
Yeah,
That's like the tiniest face ever.
yeah. So
Anyway.
like,
I apologize.
no.
It's hard to take him seriously as the main character
Right.
because he's just like he doesn't look like a main. He looks like a sidekick.
Right.
I just
Yep.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yep. So like after 2019, it's 3 years skip to
The narrator at the beginning, the girl sounded like the young girl in The Crow. She
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, the Earth was in danger.
right, some melodramatic shit.
Yeah.
And so it's 2022.
Yeah,
by the time this
2020,
is all
whatever.
taking place.
Yeah.
So this is what also bugged me was like, it was an election year. They made clear or whatnot, but I don't know if they just didn't do the math because sure it might be a midterm election, but at one point the president, who's like Andy Garcia,
Yeah.
he was doing a rally, and they were like saying 4 more years. So it leads you to believe that it was a presidential election taking place in 2022,
Yeah.
which doesn't line up with, again, our timeline, which is 2020
Yeah.
would be it. So I don't know if they just forgot about the 3-year skip and thinking that, it's 2019 just going into 2020.
Yeah,
mean,
the chronology I was really pretty lost with, and I ended up just kind of giving up on it because like
pissed me off.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got
there was
the
a
sense
lot that pissed me off about the chronology too, because
yeah, me too. Like,
I mean, I'll get into another part in a little bit about it because
it did get frustrating. Though.
Because there was like, I was just wondering like, well, how old is everyone in here? And then again, when were cell phones invented in this universe? Because I have to imagine Gerald Butler's like in his 50s.
Yeah.
And he's talking, I'll get into that later because there's just a whole thing that I fucking hated about that whole cell phone shit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, because they have like you said, they have really high tech technology. All this stuff's going on, and they're like, and it's just like they can do everything.
Yeah, they have this cool little like iPad device that's like virtual, see-through screen shit.
Yeah, and it's pretty state of the art, like high tech computer technology that we're staring at, and it's like, whoa, okay.
So the plot keeps on going with 3 years later, if whatever the fuck that means, is
who knows what year it even is.
Right, they go into like they start noticing shit's starting going wrong. Like
Yeah.
in the middle of a desert, Afghan,
Yeah.
a city's just frozen over. People are literally like frozen solid. They're like breaking them in half by just
Yeah.
touching them and shit.
Which
Uh,
they were trying to, like, it was supposed to be kind of an anonymous or ominous like situation, but it ended up just being silly because they just snapped their hands off, and it's like, oh no.
oh shit, okay. And, like, so they first, it's of course, it's just a malfunction or something. One of the satellites malfunctioned, but I mean, it's pretty obvious that it was some type of sabotage.
Yeah.
Like,
It's pretty much obvious from the get-go.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's nothing else it could have really even been.
Ed Harris is in it.
Yeah.
He's, I was like, oh, here's the bad guy.
Yeah. If Ed Harris is in it, there's a good chance he's going to be the bad guy. Yeah.
Yep.
Although there were a few bad guys in this movie.
Yeah. Well, what we thought would be, at least.
Right. Yeah.
But they're all working. I mean,
yeah, they're all working
they're
for
all
one
working
guy.
yeah.
Which makes no sense why they would even do that, but whatever.
So like, they're trying to meet with Gerald Butler's little brother who fired him, and he's like, yeah, we need someone who we can control and listens to us. We need your brother. Which is the exact reason he got fired, was because he wasn't listening to them. He was doing shit on his own.
Yeah,
like,
he's going rogue.
He was going rogue. So you want to hire someone you can control and follows orders, which is not him. Okay, all right. Let's just roll with that. Yeah. Fine.
And Gerard Butler has trying really, really, really hard to not have an English accent, and it just sounds terrible.
It was bad.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about this mission, but it's like,
Yeah. So his little brother goes and finds him out in the, I don't know where the fuck they were, because there were missiles going off in the background, so they were close to the satellite, and his daughter was there, who is a pretty decent actor for a little girl.
Yeah.
She
decent
was pretty
narrator
sassy. Yeah. Pretty smart little girl right there.
Sorry.
And then we start. That's about when we start, getting hints at that. Oh, something's wrong, because there's we're in this space station, and there's this real sweaty dude that's working on shit. He looks real sketchy. Like I wasn't sure at first if he was like the bad guy that was framing, like doing the malfunctions, but because he was sweating buckets, and he was like walking around all sketched out, and he went through like one of these tunnels, and then the fucking doors just open and flung him out.
Which that was another weird scene, because like the windows and all that stuff, they all open, and he just stands there going,
and he just freezes instantly and just flies out. Like, that was a weird hallway. It looked like just a hallway that had a bunch of doors leading outside. I don't know why.
Yeah, it looked like the one hallway that you don't want to be in when you're in a space station.
Right.
Like, there's no reason to even be there. I'm just gonna I'm gonna take detours. I'm not gonna get into that hallway. That's too close.
Yep. So,
So then what happens?
Oh, China. There's there's a Hong Kong scene where there's a Chinese, one of the people working, because it's an international effort to build the Dutch boy.
Yeah.
And I guess part of the back plot story was that they wanted the U.S. because they have a couple months time limit that it's gonna. I don't know. The U.S. is controlling it right now, but it's going to be handed over to international people.
Right. Which it's like, okay. Yeah.
So they wanted an American Gerald Butler to be the one to go up there and fix it. So they would have, the Americans gave it to him nice and pristine, but,
But, shit happens.
Shit happens.
But the part in China, though.
The part in China, yeah. So this guy is doing some digging.
Yeah.
Like he's digging around, noticing shit's going wrong.
Yeah. He's actually paying attention to the plot.
Yeah, he's like, this doesn't look right. And then he goes out, gets some fucking
Eggs.
Groceries.
Yeah.
You get some groceries
Yeah.
on a particularly hot Hong Kong day,
Yeah.
and like something fucking happens.
He
that
drops some
he
eggs.
drops some eggs, and they start boiling up, and then the fucking gas mine,
Yeah.
like the gas lines underneath the city just all start exploding.
Mm.
They all just like bend out of the pavement and then start exploding.
Yeah, and he has to drive through like
The city in like some fucking Prius or some
Yeah.
shit.
yeah, while the city is collapsing behind him.
Yeah.
So that whole sequence, I know I played a video game
It looked like a video
where
game.
it did, but I swear there was a video game I played where you have to do that exact same thing, and I don't remember what it was. I don't think it was Incredible Crisis, but it might have been.
I mean, that's one thing I hated about this movie as well, and why I thought, oh, maybe there was some just like how they like it should have came out earlier, but
Yeah.
they just had so much CGI work because not to like go too off a tangent, when they were flying in space, they
Yeah.
were completely CGI. It looked like a goddamn video game of them.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the Gerald Butler face shots, you were like, that doesn't even look like Gerald Butler. It looks
Yeah.
like
Looks like a cartoon version of Gerard Butler,
Yeah, it's like-
or like a video game version.
they
Like
didn't
if Gerard
even-
Butler was in The Getaway
it
or
was like
something.
the uncanny valley, like they didn't even try to hide it. They're like,
Yeah.
"Nah,
Yeah.
fuck it.
It was weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the space scenes in this movie. I mean, like you look at, I mean, of course, it's no gravity or something like that, or like one of those outer space movies where like you can actually sort of feel the atmosphere. This movie, the space scenes in them didn't really have any atmosphere. They were actually pretty funny. Like the
Yeah.
like, well, that stuff was blowing up or whatever, or he was like flying.
That was hilarious. I was
What?
laughing hard. Yeah. Oh my
Anyway.
god, that was like I was laughing already just like because so what they had to do was
Yeah.
the dude that got thrown out in the hallway,
Mm.
one of the doors got stuck in the web.
Yeah.
Got the web. It got stuck in the web, and
Yeah.
for some reason the door had a hard drive on it. I don't get why a door would have a hard drive with data.
Yeah.
Like, but it did. Maybe there's reasons.
Yeah.
I'm not a rocket scientist. So they go and have to go get the door and get the hard drive out the door. But
Right.
as soon as they grab it, Gerald Butler's fucking spacesuit starts malfunctioning and starts whipping him around, and he's just flying all over space and shit.
Yeah.
And, it's
And he's
again,
like, "Whoa!"
again, CGI completely. CGI
Yeah.
Gerald Butler flying
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Like very kind of remind me a bit of Gravity, but not as. I mean, like
Gravity-
super cheesy.
Yeah, Gravity had a much stronger emphasis on like atmosphere and the vastness of space, and also Gravity, it kept things simple. It
Yeah.
stuck to close-ups, and it didn't try to show too much of what was going on around the main character, like her surroundings. It mostly just tried to like give you the feeling of being her, and it did that pretty expertly actually, because
Yeah.
like the way, I mean, my main problem with Gravity has to do with like the one stupid thing that happens that pretty much just ruins all of the realism. But having said that, one thing I do really appreciate about Gravity was how hard they actually tried to make the atmosphere of space look real.
Yeah.
And they did that by using less CGI technology, not more.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with this movie.
I
It's,
mean, the only
it's
thing
all
that it
CGI.
reminded me of was just the suits, that how they were going. I don't know those. I guess that's how they do it. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's real or not, but I assume it is, since Gravity was what I've heard fairly realistic.
Yeah,
But-
for the most
Yeah,
part.
those jets on his backpack started just flinging him around.
Yeah.
So
And-
he had to eject it and grab onto some, of course,
Right.
grab onto some fucking ropes off the end.
Yeah,
And
and of course it's
survived.
Gerard Butler, so the whole time he's going, "Whoa!"
Yeah. And he makes it out.
Yep. And then he says, "I was sabotaged," or "I was sabotaged."
His accent's so fucking bad.
Yeah, and he's all sweaty, and he's
Yeah.
getting yelled at. The guy's yelling at him, even though he almost died. It's
Right.
like the
Sorry, I
characters-
was busy getting killed. My
Yeah.
bad.
like the
and
characters in this movie
Yeah,
are just so unbelievably
It was like
stupid.
the Spanish guy was yelling at him, like,
Yeah.
"You lost it." Blah, 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 blah. And
It's like that's the least of your
my
problems.
bad. He was getting killed. My bad. but it like
Yeah.
oh, and there was a team like a typical team meeting and
Yeah.
before all this where they show I'm the like different ethnicities being like
Yeah,
the
represented.
hacker, not the hacker but the comms, the
Yeah.
whatever, just like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you meet the main commander in chief, which is a chick of a kind of maybe ish. It was kind of hinting lovey interest, but it didn't pay. Thank
Yeah.
God it didn't go through because there was
Yeah.
no at all.
I wouldn't have been able to
indication.
tolerate
I'd be
that.
Fuck,
Like
that's bullshit.
that would have just like. I mean, the movie was already like pushing it with all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into it, but like, yeah, that would have tipped it over the edge for me.
Yeah. But so he gets back in after his malfunction.
Yeah.
And he was able to somehow, after being whipped around, take out the hard drive from that door and pocket it. And like the main commander was like, why didn't you tell him you had it? And he's like, he basically alludes, something's fishy, something ain't right.
Yeah. I was set up.
Yeah.
But the guy from Hong Kong, what ends up happening to him?
The Hong Kong guy. Okay.
Because like something happens to him.
Yeah,
right?
it does. It's a little later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or yeah. So
like
you can keep going with
Geostorm
what
is
you're doing.
in the time between like I don't know if it was before the fucking whiplash or like after, but they explain what a geostorm is.
Yeah.
It's I guess fuck. How do you explain it?
It's like a bunch of it's like multiple things happening at once, like
Yeah.
tornadoes in one place, droughts in another place, massive fires in another place, tornado, all that stuff, just like hurricanes.
Yeah, and that's what the Dutch boy is
everything.
preventing. Or,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
that's
the Dutch boy is trying to regulate the weather,
yeah.
which of course then once it gets tampered with, it malfunctions, which means that there's only one solution.
Right.
And it's the same solution that any person who grew up with computer technology in the 90s knows.
So yeah, they eventually I don't know if this is before or after Gerard kind of mentions to his little brother through that comm screen that something's fishy.
Yeah.
And then back to the China guy from Hong Kong.
Yeah. He ends up like figuring out what's going
he's
on.
like, oh shit, something. He figures it out, and then immediately some bad guys, bust in. He escapes.
Yeah.
He hides. He gets back to DC.
Yeah.
He gets in contact with Gerald Butler's little brother.
Yeah, Jim Sturgis.
Yeah.
He's about to meet up with him. He's being followed, and then
he gets pushed out right in front of a car.
in front of everybody.
In front of everyone, and
so many people could have seen that. Like,
and another side character was what the fuck? Max is the little brother.
Yeah.
I'll just call him Max. His girlfriend is in the Secret Service
Right.
protecting the president. That's her job. And
Yeah.
They're girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
And she sees the whole thing. She sees like one of them henchmen, get into the car that ran him over and speed off and shit.
Yeah.
So she knows that he was killed.
Yeah.
Trying to tell Max that, I know what's happening.
Yeah. And he lets out his dying word or whatever. And then
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was something important to the plot. It was like a password or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then so it's basically confirmed that they're being watched.
Yeah.
That the comms are compromised, and that a few when they're fighting and when in the beginning of it when Max comes to recruit Gerard Butler,
Yeah.
they just have a little. I think maybe Max tells his daughter, "Yeah, we used to have a code when we were kids." So this is the
ridiculous.
this is one of the timeline confusing and also stupidest things.
Yeah.
It was Gerard Butler makes it because he's trying to encode the message to his brother because they think they're being monitored, which is the only time.
Yeah.
But he tells a story of him and his brother and his dad going fishing, and he dropped a lure. No, he dropped his cell phone into the water, and
Yeah.
they were both sick of fishing, and he tells a little elaborate kind of touching-ish story, you think.
Yeah. Sorta.
Sorta. Like, and which is okay. What confused me with the timeline is how the fuck old is Gerard Butler? Because cell phones in relativity to 2019/2022,
Yeah.
he would have. They wouldn't have been invented because they invented the code. He said when he was 13,
Right.
because he was telling his hacker friend lady.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, that's a pretty. She was made fun of the code. What, did a 12-year-old make this? Actually, I was 13. So like, presumably his brother was 13, and Gerard may have been like, I don't know, 50.
How old could he have been? Because he looks like he's almost in his 50s.
Yeah. So like,
it's like,
were cell phones invented? That's why I think it's an alternate universe with an
Right.
alternate timeline.
yeah.
Cell phones couldn't have been around if his dad had one, because
Yeah.
they used the code. The code was his dad's cell phone number,
Yeah.
and it's some stupid not even complicated. It was just dumb, didn't make sense.
Yeah.
That they spliced the story Gerard told to Max, and it was like, and it basically said there's a traitor high up in the government,
Right.
and it all was just a splice of that story he told
Yeah.
through the code of his dad's cell phone. So I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. I like.
you.
I don't even know what that
Fuck
meant. Yeah.
this
It just.
movie.
It was so stupid and convoluted. Like it didn't even need to like be a part of what was going. Like why like throw codes and all these secret messages and stuff into
'Cause
this plot involving
just-
the end of the world, the potential end of the world.
Yeah, I
Like-
mean, I get why they would need to code it because they were being monitored,
Right.
but eventually later there was no code because they can't get in contact again not that much later, and just Gerard throws the president under the bus saying, I
Yeah.
think it's the president. He's the only one with the whatever.
Yeah, he is the kill code. He doesn't have the kill codes. He is the kill codes. It's
So,
it's
like-
linked up to his like DNA and his like fingerprints
Right,
and
his
eye
eye
retina
retina,
stuff,
biometric
all
scanning.
that. So
So,
he's
like-
the only person who could have sabotaged
So like
it.
there was that one little transmission they encoded, but the
Mhm.
one where he actually accuses the president, he didn't bother encoding. Why?
I guess because they needed to make the plot last longer.
Or go quicker, I'd assume, because then they'd
Yeah.
have another 10-minute thing of him decoding a fucking stupid story he made up.
Yeah. Which didn't really, yeah. And so then they end up basically having to kidnap the president.
Yeah.
Like,
So in a little like as they're having to make that plan, 200 of the satellites in the fucking Skynet start malfunctioning and fucking destroying cities
yeah,
left and right.
it's gnarly. And I didn't give a crap about any of these characters. And then as soon as I saw the kid and his dog, that's when I actually started caring. Because it's like, okay, finally.
I fucking thought that was
I mean,
so cheesy.
It was cheesy as hell, but it's better than nothing. I need something. Like,
Because it was like, yeah, that was one of them. They just showed a few of them. Like
yeah.
India was getting hit by 5 sand tornadoes. There was,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, the Bahamas or some
Something
shit
like that. Yeah.
getting hit by ice tsunami.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then they cut to this shot of this kid trying to catch his dog as his dog's running away. All this stuff's flying everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well,
I knew the
I
dog.
mean-
like when that was happening, I was like, "Oh, the dog's gonna be fine."
yeah,
they wouldn't be showing.
they're
us
not
in
going to kill these
detail.
characters. There's just no way, So it's like, but you got to have something to care about, because I couldn't give a crap about Gerard Butler. Like,
Yeah.
I know that he wanted to return home to his daughter and all that, but like, why the heck did he have to be manual though? Like
Duh.
that's like.
Plot
Like
point.
Death Space Station 101.
Right.
Don't have it be only manual override. Like,
Right.
you have to be able to detonate that kind of thing from a distance
Yeah.
or reset it. That's the thing. That's the solution. Turning it off and turning it back on.
Yeah.
like a computer
Oh my god.
resetting the system.
Because there was a virus. They figured out that there was a virus. In it,
Yeah.
yeah. But one of the other things that they're like before they were trying to do that, Gerard comes up with the idea of just because they have spare satellites in the fucking space station.
Yeah.
So they did successfully shoot one of the satellites into, forget which city it was for, but it worked.
Yeah.
But immediately after, the space station starts self-destructing.
Yeah.
So
is
you're like, oh,
great.
okay, so that was, I don't know, pointless.
I guess so.
You could have just skipped that part and start the self-destruction sequence.
Yeah, which was hilarious
Yeah, it was like-
because an hour and a half or like however long it
They
is
have
until
an hour and a half.
yeah until
The
Geostorm.
Geostorm, which kind of coincides with it's both an hour and a half till the Geostorm and an hour and a half to the the self-destruct sequence. And
Yeah,
why is there a self-destruct sequence on this?
that's a good
thing?
question.
Good question, right?
Yeah.
It's like, in case it, is falling to Earth.
Sure.
That was
All
the
right.
excuse.
I guess
In
that's
case it starts falling to Earth.
yeah.
All right. All right.
And also like
Whatever.
this movie. I mean, this movie was pretty stupid.
Oh
Like
my
like
God.
it was like really really dumb. But I didn't think that it would actually be dumb enough to have a scene where the characters actually at the last second, literally the very last
Of course.
second,
Duh.
like a couple. I didn't think that the film would actually stoop that low. I thought it would
I
at
was
least have like
surprised.
10 or 20 seconds or something a little bit more realistic.
I
But
was
no,
surprised.
all the way at the very, very last second, they made sure to really draw it out.
Right.
And it's just like,
Okay.
well, I guess these people have all the time in the world then. I guess they really need exactly an hour and a half to figure out what the heck they're doing.
So yeah, they lose control of the space station. It's exploding.
Yeah.
So they have to start doing the manual shutdown,
Yeah.
which they need the president for.
Mm.
And they still think he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
So Max, or the little brother, whatever you fucking want to call
Yeah.
him,
Jim
goes-
Sturgis.
goes to Ed Harris.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you dumb motherfucker.
Yeah.
Because you know he's gonna, and he
Yeah.
does.
Of course, yeah.
He
I
turns
saw that
out
coming.
he's like, he says something stupid, like, so I forget what he says, but
Did you tell anybody else?
he knew the China dude. What else did the China guy tell you? And then he was like, because he never mentioned the China guy to him, I don't think.
No,
So
you
he
kind
was
of
like,
skipped
wait
that
a
part.
second, and then he dodged a fucking bullet.
Yeah.
Just like,
It was hilarious. Oh my
and
god.
just books it. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, they take the president, put him in the car.
Yeah.
We're kidnapping you.
Yeah, the wife or the girlfriend makes a fake assassination. She just shoots her gun out in the air and says, there's a attempt on the president, shoots the gun, and then they
Yeah.
kidnap the president.
Yeah.
And
And then there's like a high-speed shootout chase thing where things are falling all over the place, lightning bolts crashing all over.
yeah, because it was like a DNC convention
Yeah.
again, the stupid ass timeline, presumably if the 3 years 2022,
Yeah.
but Ed Harris's plan was to just kill everyone in the city.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
so then he would be the next president. He
Yeah.
would kill everyone down the line except he would be the only one to make it out. And
Yeah.
that was the main bad guy's plan. And yeah, so there was a high-speed explosion chase out of
Yeah.
the city
Yeah.
with the henchmen and shit.
They all get torched.
Yeah, I did like the girlfriend was a badass when she did like the fucking maneuver
Yeah.
reverse and then just pop, 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 pop,
Yeah.
right to the driver. And
She
fucking-
blasts
he
him.
just unloads on
Yeah.
him.
And she doesn't even care that she took his life.
No.
She doesn't give a crap
No.
because the fate of the world is more important. Let's
Uh-huh.
face it. I mean,
Fair. It's
yeah.
fair.
So, anyway,
Oh yeah, and then like the president said, like after that, marry her.
yeah,
Right to
which
him.
is like, oh, okay,
all
well,
right, we'll do it. All right.
yeah, sure,
Yeah. One of the other ones was it was winter in Russia. Starts lighting up on fire. That was
Mhm.
another Geostorm moment.
Yeah.
The Indian sandstorm.
yeah,
A tsunami in the desert.
Yeah.
Ice tsunami.
lots of crazy
yeah.
effects, lots of people running and screaming, shrieking.
And then
We've all seen that. It's always
so
fun.
the space station is starting to explode, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's evacuating. They have a shit ton of shuttles, like a fuck ton of shuttles. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, I remember this part.
they all start evacuating, and my question is, if 90% of like what it was like because they showed the world map getting fucked up, where are they gonna land? How are they gonna get through like the atmosphere of tornadoes and explosions and fucking tsunamis?
Well, that's the thing.
Are
They
just
can't
gonna
really
float
like,
around in space until the world's done with.
I mean, that they didn't really seem to have a backup plan in case that actually did happen. Yeah, so that would have been a more interest. That would have been too interesting a movie.
Right? They're like, oh no, we're watching the world burn from a satellite. Like,
Yeah, post
which, by the
Geostorm.
way, was a quote from like I was like, oh, he used the Joker line. Fucking
Yeah.
Ed Harris is. He didn't say exactly some man wants to watch the world burn, but
Right.
he paraphrased, we
Yeah.
just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah, it's close enough. Yeah.
Close enough.
It's which it's like, meh, Ed Harris is no Joker, but okay.
Yeah.
And there was that English guy, which, okay, so what was with the English guy who, like, he ends up double crossing them or whatever, and Gerard Butler busts him, or he like,
yeah, he knew it
he
'cause-
busts him in the face or
right,
whatever.
Yeah, that was I liked him because
He
he's
was, yeah.
in Umbrella Academy. He's Klaus. He's really
Yeah.
good in that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's cool to see him. But he was the mole on this ship, I guess.
Right.
That was fucking
It was-
hijacking
yeah.
the system and making all the shit blow up.
Yeah. But why did he?
Oh no, he's the one. He's the one that said we want to watch the world burn or something.
Oh, that's
like
it,
that.
yeah.
He was like, because Gerard was like, why? What are the? He's getting paid presumably, and he's like, what? You're gonna have money, and there's not gonna be an Earth to go back to, and he's like, there's gonna be some parts we leave safe.
Well, it's also funny how the guy was English, and yet Gerard Butler couldn't be. You know, the bad guy had to be English.
Well, technically, because he said, because in the beginning he said, of course, like that dude Klaus calls him out on, of course it's an American, and he was like, well, I was born in the UK,
Oh yeah.
but I don't fucking know.
Yeah, why
what
they?
that means.
Why did he flush his accent down the toilet?
Right.
Anyway.
So everyone evacuates except for Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Because somebody, of course, has to be at the space station
Yep,
to turn it off at the last
To do the
second.
manual, which he didn't have to build in the ship in the first place.
Dumb piece of
Idiot.
shit.
He deserves to die.
Right.
Like.
But it turns out also the main commander lady stays back because this is my home.
Yeah. Remember, I told you I live
I
here.
live here.
Or whatever.
Yeah, because he got lost a couple times throughout the movie, and like he was trying to get into the manual override system, and it was like access denied, and you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? How's he gonna get through this? And then she turns up behind him, wrong door, buddy.
Yeah.
And then they just go
It's
through
this
another
way.
door.
Yeah. It's just like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it turns out he needs her to tell him when all the net is totally shut down,
Yeah.
so he can reboot it again or some dumb shit.
Well, thank God she was there because we would have been screwed.
Right.
If Gerard Butler was literally the only person left, we would have been done for.
Yeah.
Like he's actually pretty incompetent in the end.
Yeah.
So-
Fucking dumbass.
Yeah.
He couldn't find a way around the thing he built.
Yeah. No wonder he got fired.
Right.
You know, he needs other people to tell him what to do all the time. Like, and it's just like, yeah, it's not really a good thing to. That's not really a good way to be if you're building a sustainable satellite system that is supposed to be preventing global climate change. Like, you know, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like so they saved the world.
Yes.
But they had to sacrifice themselves, is what, like, news was going off. People were going, yay!
Mm.
But, the little girl was sad her dad's dying.
Yeah.
And shit. And,
It's like,
but
turns out.
turns out somehow they survived an exploding space station all around them. And they see an extra fucking satellite that's just kind of chilling out.
Yeah, and it was just there.
And apparently
How
people
convenient.
people can walk in or float into it, get inside, and control it somehow.
Yeah,
Just
without any
'cause.
problems.
Just because, I don't know. And they do. They get out. And their only hope is that someone sees them. And he's like sending off the SOS with the
Yeah.
boosters. And
Hmm.
Yeah,
And sure enough.
one of the shuttles is just hanging out.
Yeah.
It's the one with the Hernandez.
Yeah.
Hernandez, which was someone you thought might be the bad guy because
Yeah.
he was a little rude and mean, but it was just
Yeah.
a red herring.
Just turns out he's just a disgruntled yet well-meaning
Hmm.
gentleman.
Yeah, because he was the one that led him to like the sweaty dude. He hid the shit and he was
Yeah.
like, I had a feeling, but he hid the stuff in this locker.
Yeah.
So that's when you find out he's actually a good dude.
Yeah.
And then
And it's like, okay.
they drive up and Hernandez is just like waving to him and
Yeah.
Gerald Butler's like, Hernandez, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Which,
God.
like, didn't he like point a gun at his face or whatever? It's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
nobody
Like,
gives
why
a
did-
crap.
Why'd they have guns up there in the first place?
I know, like, what? It's like they were waiting for somebody to like betray
Yeah,
them
I
or
think
something.
shooting a gun in a space station is a pretty bad idea. I don't know.
It's an extremely bad idea.
I
The
think
part where the
things,
guy
like,
gets sucked out the
explode. I
the
mean,
guy gets sucked out the airlock and it looks like it's
Oh,
like the
yeah.
funniest effect ever. He's standing next to the lock. It opens up and he like kind of twirls into it. Like,
yeah, the fight with Gerald and Klaus,
yeah,
the traitor, like Gerald like notices like, oh, the glass is about to break, so he just books it
yeah,
while the other guy runs to the gun to try and kill him.
yeah.
But Gerald makes it to safety, and it's like an oh shit! He
Yeah!
gets fucking flung out the fucking window he broke. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't
Yeah.
know, you fucking dumbass.
And then I think like I don't know, Ed Harris got blown up or something. Like,
Yeah, he was in like I think he died in a car crash.
Yeah, probably.
He died in that car crash scene and shit.
Something
Alright,
happened to him at
whatever.
some point, like it just yeah. And then but they saved the day, they saved the world by unplugging and plugging the system back in.
Restarting it,
You know?
of course, restarting the system.
Yeah, they return to Earth. They're heroes.
They're heroes.
Feels
yep.
good to be an American.
Yep. And then at the end, you see the dog. It made it.
Yeah, and the boy did too.
Yeah.
Happy endings all around.
Yay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Geostorm.
Geostorm.
so why did you pick this one? Just out of curiosity.
It's just one that was on my radar. I heard
Yeah.
like another podcast talk about it before, and
Yeah.
just I wanted to do something a little more modern.
Yeah.
We choose a lot of like 80s, 90s, 70s flicks. I wanted choose something from like not that long ago.
Yeah.
That kind of.
That's a good idea. We
too.
should do that more often.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, it was pretty dumb, but
Yeah,
I mean, I still enjoyed it, but it was pretty stupid. Like
Potholes galore.
Yeah.
Just explosions.
I will say I liked it more than Armageddon though, because you see, to me, okay, the problem with the reason I don't think Michael Bay is a very good filmmaker is because, like, I mean, putting aside stuff like The Rock and a couple other things that were actually worth watching, you look at something like Armageddon and I really couldn't. My biggest problem with that movie is I couldn't tell what was going on in it because there were so many quick cuts and so many shaky camera angles and so much stuff blowing up, and I didn't even know who died and who didn't, and it was like 150 minutes of just stuff happening and stuff blowing up, and I couldn't follow it. It's the same problem I had with like Pearl Harbor and the Transformers movies and all that. If you're not a good filmmaker, if you can't properly communicate to the audience what's actually going on screen.
And
So
this movie was actually fairly long. It was near 2 hours.
yeah,
But it went by real quick. It was fairly action packed. I mean,
it was
very CG, but it was decently fast paced and like the action was pretty good for a like doomsday movie at least.
Yeah, I mean, at least you could tell what was going on. At least the plot
was garbage nonsense.
Yeah,
Like,
and it just got even more and more dumb as it went along too. Like it started off like reasonably intelligent. Like okay, Geostorm, like potential satellite system preventing climate change, all that stuff. Like all right, we'll see where this goes.
I mean, they should have put it like 30 years in the future.
Yeah,
to make it a little more believable,
Mhm.
but no, it was like in this day and age, there's already like if it was happening right now, there would be a net above us right now.
Yeah. I mean, and like to me, it's like it wasn't until like the plot actually got started that things kind of fell apart. Oh, I guess as far as being like a quote unquote like good movie. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like the people who wrote this put much thought into the story, because
No.
yeah, you do have to suspend your disbelief to sort of
The whole
believe
time,
that
yeah.
Gerard Butler just I don't know.
He's an American.
Yeah.
He's American.
Yeah, I guess it was just an attempt. An attempt to sort of broaden Gerard Butler's sort of like worldwide sort of audience appeal by having him be in something that's a little bit more family friendly, and a little bit more like, I guess, for like accessible to like more people who like are maybe less discriminating when it comes to disaster movies and stuff. So I guess in that sense, like if you want like a PG-13 Gerard Butler movie,
I mean, I like this
Geostorm.
better than
Yeah.
fucking Day After Tomorrow.
I did too.
Like that was
That was
kind of boring in general.
yeah, that movie was kind of just a whole lot of nothing.
This one at
pretty
least
much.
kept going. I feel like Day After Tomorrow was real slow.
Yeah, it was. I agree. Roland Emmerich, although at least with Roland Emmerich's movies, you can pretty much like follow the plot. It's just,
yeah, this plot was just incomprehensible, but
yeah,
kept moving.
yeah, and you just kind of have to go with it and
Roll with
accept that it's going to be stupid as hell.
it. Yeah.
And that's about it. Basically, one's tolerance for this movie depends on one's tolerance for just overall movie plot stupidity. I don't know. I was entertained by it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So,
Yeah, if you want something to throw on in the background while you're, I don't know, doing
Yeah.
something.
yeah, it's another one of those really silly, stupid. I mean, kind of like Twister, or one of those like just.
Yeah.
Which that movie has a really dumb plot too. A bunch of people chasing around like tornadoes, and then like Bill Paxton again. Bill Paxton and what's her name? Helen Hunt, I think it was, hiding in a shed full of sharp tools, dangerous wood splinters, all kinds of stuff that can easily get driven right into your skull.
Right.
And they get engulfed in a tornado. Spoilers for Twister, by the way, in case you haven't seen it. They get engulfed in a tornado, and somehow they manage to come away with just a couple scratches on their forehead, and that's about it. It's
Just
like
them surviving a space station exploding.
yeah,
Like, what the fuck?
yeah, just oh well. So,
Oh, and at the end too, they say, "Oh, he's my fiance." Like they do get married, or
yeah,
at least engaged. They're fiancés now.
right.
After the president told them to.
Yeah, it's like I mean, they didn't have to do that, but I guess if they're gonna please everybody,
Want more happy ending.
Yeah, as
Couldn't-
many happy endings as we can stuff
Yeah.
into one movie.
They couldn't just stop with the dog. They had
No.
to do that one too.
Well, I mean, Peter Jackson. You look at Return of the King. Those ending, like, how many endings to that movie were there? Like,
9.
it just wouldn't end. It's like, oh wait, we got to find out what happens to Viggo Mortensen. We got to figure out what happens to Bilbo. The Ian Holm, all them.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Geostorm was about what I expected. Pretty standard kind of disaster movie with a lot of dumb crap, but it's Gerard Butler and all that. At least it wasn't The Meg with Jason Statham fighting a shark.
Never saw it.
Yeah, it's as dumb as you've heard. So.
The trailer looks stupid as hell.
Yeah. Well, the trailer for this was stupid as hell too.
I didn't watch the trailer.
Yeah.
for this.
Well, the movie lived up to the trailer. I'll give it that. So I don't know. What were your thoughts on it?
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like disaster movies to begin with. really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
me
mean-
neither.
And this one, it seemed like they took they're half-written scripts from 5 different ones and just put them together. That's
Yeah.
what this one seemed like.
Yeah. About an hour in, you're pretty much you pretty much already know what's gonna happen. You just
Yeah.
kind of wait for it to end, and then it does.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Oh, what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 5?
I gave it a 1.5.
Okay. All right. Cool. It's not the worst disaster movie you've ever seen, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What about you?
Yeah, I'd give it a 1.5 as well, just because it went by fast, even though it was a 2-hour movie. So I was like, oh no, decent-ish action scenes.
Yeah.
It was pretty fast paced for a 2-hour movie,
Hmm.
but also incomprehensible.
Yeah, definitely.
and still that fucking cell phone bullshit code that pissed me off so much.
That
Like,
was
no.
Yeah. The whole thing was pretty dumb. It was pretty lame brained.
Yeah.
I'd give it a 3. Well, 2 or 3. I mean, again, it's another one of those. I enjoyed it for what it was, even though it was as dumb as hell. You know,
Yeah,
I could
Yeah.
get into something like that as long as it doesn't like. I mean, this insulted my intelligence like crazy, but
Yeah.
I still had fun with it. You know.
yeah. I mean, I'd recommend it if you want to just like turn your brain off and watch
Yeah.
explosions for like 2 hours.
Yeah. That's about all this movie has to offer is just a lot of explosions and a lot of doomsday prophecies and all that. But yeah, I don't know. But I like movies like Twister and a lot of stupid crap like that, so I can get into this, you know. But having said that, it is actually dumber than usual. I would actually go so far as to say, like, if you don't have like a high tolerance for like really dumb stuff, I definitely wouldn't recommend it, because this film just kind of barely, it almost pushed it for me, but not
Yeah.
quite.
If you don't mind nonsense, you know,
Yeah.
you can get through it.
Yeah, pretty much. So. And with that said, I think that concludes.
Geostorm.
Yeah. And that also pretty much concludes our episode. So now we just have to decide on what to watch next.
Yeah.
And since the Halloween season is coming up, we may as well, you know, do Halloween related horror films or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have one chosen?
I do.
Okay. Do you want to say what it is?
I chose Gravy.
Gravy.
Yeah, Gravy. Sounds like a Thanksgiving movie, but it's Halloween.
Ooh, okay.
The plot sounded kind of similar to Murder Party, but with cannibals.
Oh.
Huh.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I tend to get grossed out by cannibalism, and so I'm gonna definitely
It's
prep
a
myself before.
it's a horror comedy. Just
Oh, excellent. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, before I watch Cannibal Girls in the Jungle of Avocados and Death, or whatever it's called, I was ready to be grossed out, you know, just because the idea of cannibalism is disgusting to me. But you know, it didn't end up being gross, you know. So
Yeah.
hopefully Gravy won't be a giant psych out.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want me to go next?
Did you choose yours yet? You said you had two
Yeah,
choices.
I think
right?
I think I know what I'm gonna choose. Yeah.
I mean, I have mine chosen.
Okay. All right. Well, I was undecided between two different made-for-TV movies from the 80s. But I'm gonna go with Mazes and Monsters, which is a made-for-TV movie, like I just said, about the satanic evils of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I was hoping you'd
Yeah.
choose.
It's a propaganda picture, apparently. I'm really stoked.
Nice.
Apparently, Tom Hanks is in it. So,
All right, the movie. Okay, so all right, the movie I chose is Boltneck.
Bolt Neck.
Nick.
Yeah, Boltneck, like Frankenstein, bolt, like bolt neck.
Okay.
One
All right.
word.
All right.
Year
right.
2000.
Excellent. Bolt Neck.
Nice.
All right. So we got Bolt Neck, Gravy, and Mazes and Monsters.
Yeah.
Those are some great titles. Wow. Especially Gravy. That one I'm most interested in.
Yep.
All right. Excellent. Well, okay. Well, until next time, be safe and happy autumn.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah, happy Spooktober.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, till next time.
Oh man. Yeah. No. Geostorm was really fucking dumb. Yeah.
Right.
Might have been. That might be one of the dumbest things we've watched. I don't know.
So dumb.
I mean,
Oh.